So if you want to give some background information about yourself and just get started, feel free to.
Sure. I actually have a bunch of slides. I heard Sue talk about PowerPoint, and I was like, yeah, I use that all the time. But like, we don't have to like just look at those. But I could share a few if that's useful. You just have to give me sharing permissions, though. Yeah. So I'm associated with OES because of Ellis McCauley and Clara McCauley, who you might know. And I work as a tech CEO for a small tech company in Portland. And I also write novels. So I had a national bestseller a few years ago. And I've worked for Microsoft and Intel, et cetera. So Grant, I think maybe you have to give me sharing permissions here.
Yeah, he's working on it right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
No
sorry.
worries.
I don't know. I can make you the host. I don't know.
No, you go down and you say allow multiple participants to share. It's under, yeah, it's next to record. Anyway, it's not a big deal. Yeah, so I started my career at Adobe as a product manager, and then went from there to other companies, including Microsoft, where I was a tech evangelist. That was actually my title. And then from there worked for Paul Allen at Vulcan. Paul Allen was the co-founder of Microsoft, and he also owned, he died recently. He owned the Portland Trail Blazers. He owned the Seattle Seahawks. Those were just hobbies for him. So he was a really interesting guy to work for. Then I also worked at Xerox PARC, where the computer as we know it today was pretty much invented. And then I was at Intel, and now I manage a company called SnowShoe here in town that does a lot with retail loyalty. Yep.
Can you elaborate more on like what SnowShoe does? I'm just finding it interesting.
Sure. It's snowshoe.io. We provide software for companies that do loyalty programs, like if you go into a store and you get points, like if you go to Nectar Yogurt or something like that, then that's, that's what you'd be using a system that kind of fits with what we do. So that's what SnowShoe does. But previously at Intel and at Microsoft, I was responsible for kind of global rollout of things like computer vision technologies that are now used in a lot of autonomous vehicles, et cetera. So, that's some of the work that I did. And then if any of you use PCs, I worked, the thing that I was a tech evangelist for was something called, that became BitLocker. And so if you've ever used a PC and you've had your computer secured, that's a system that I helped develop. And previously to that, I worked on Adobe Dreamweaver at Adobe.
If you want to share your screen, you can now.
Hey, cool.
So
Awesome.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just figured it might be useful to have something to look at. So yeah, I won't belabor you with slides, but this is something that I put together when I've been asked to speak to different classes, mentoring type stuff. So I didn't just put it together for you guys, but you're welcome to benefit from it. So I really agreed with a lot of what Sue said about communication and lifelong learning, and about the importance of being able to continuously take ideas and morph them into other places. So I think we're going to be in violent agreement on a lot of that. So a lot of what you're learning at OES really applies, being able to take cross-disciplinary stuff. So this is a little bit of bio about me. Here's some of the companies I worked at, like I just talked about. And now I work at SnowShoe. And the reason I went to SnowShoe from Intel was that I wanted to be running everything. And Intel is great, but it's hundreds of thousands of people, billions of dollars. You can do this one little thing. And so what I like about SnowShoe is that I get to talk with engineers, and I get to talk to salespeople, and I get to talk to marketing and do all the pieces. And so my day is very interesting in that I'm continuously learning from people who are much smarter than I am. I think Sue said something similar. It's just what's cool about a job in tech is that it's constantly changing and that it's constantly reinventing itself. So my pitch is go major in the liberal arts, go major in things that are not, sorry, I'm going to be really rude, but don't major in stupid business or something that is just ephemeral, because
I
business
could
models,
not agree more.
yeah, because business models continuously change and software continuously changes. So if you major in something that's just vocational, by the time you get out of college, it'll be changed. It'll be irrelevant. But things like thinking deeply and being able to take complex information and play with them, like things that you learn in philosophy classes or history classes or English lit, those skills are relevant, and they're relevant to me today. And so I was an English major, and I also have a master's in English lit, and I never expected to work in tech, but yeah, so that's what I've done. And then, yeah, so this is my side project. So I thought I'd be a novelist full-time, and I didn't end up being a novelist full-time, but I write in the early mornings between about 4 and 6 a.m. before work. And I've had 3 novels published, and I've gotten some really great reviews and some really, you know, I had a national bestseller. So my books have done okay. And I still write books. So, you know, I wrote 140,000 words this year in a book that I'm working on. And so what I love about what I've been able to do is I combine my storytelling. I can use my storytelling capability both at work and at I guess my hobby job, my writing job. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff I can send to you guys if you're interested, but you know, it's like how product management works in high tech. But I can also just stop sharing my screen and we can just chat if that's useful. Yeah.
Owen asked, like, do you have any storytelling advice and brainstorming advice?
Yeah, so I have a lot of advice on that, but the short version is that ideas are a dime a dozen. Ideas are easy, but actually executing on those ideas is the hard part. So if you can actually finish a story or finish a picture or finish something, that's actually harder to do. Like Stephen King gets people who come up to him all the time and say, I have this really cool idea. I'll tell you the idea, you write it down, and then we'll split it 50-50. And he laughs because 90% of it is actually writing, actually creating the thing. So the brainstorming of ideas, I'm not so hot on, because if you actually keep your ears open and your eyes open, you can always be saying, what if, or why did that happen? Or, you know, what if there was an alien in this room right now? What would we do? You know, great story ideas are a dime a dozen, but how do you craft those in a way that people can really absorb them? And that's also the skill set I use at work. Like I have to craft a story for investors so they will believe in my company. I have to craft a story for my employees so they'll believe in me and they won't leave the company and they will be inspired. And I also have to chart the strategy of the business. Anyway.
Cool, thank you. The actual like story of those, like not like necessarily brainstorming, but like how you kind of like keep a reader like engaged and stuff like that.
Yeah, do you want an example from tech or an example from literature?
Either would be great. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So my novel, The Eagle Tree, that did really well, is a story from the perspective of a 14-year-old kid who's probably on the autistic spectrum. And so he has a different way of looking at the world. And as I was writing this story, I couldn't figure out how to structure it. And then I realized partway through that it's really a romance novel. Now, nobody will ever call it a romance novel, but if you dig down into the structure, there's only a few stories to tell. There's the story of romance. You know, somebody falls in love with somebody or something, and then they have obstacles and obstacles, and finally they are able to consummate that romance. You know, they have the kiss or they have the marriage or whatever, right? So that's a romance, right? So my character, I realized as I was writing, fell in love with a tree. He really wanted to find out about this tree, really wanted to be with this tree. The community was like, that tree's dangerous. You can't climb that tree. You know, it seems kind of stupid when you unpack the structure, but the story itself gets more complex. So it's interesting to realize those classic stories underneath are the ones that resonate for people. The heroic story, the story that you see in Harry Potter or Star Wars. I mean, those stories resonate because they're timeless. And so finding a classic structure and telling your story within that classic structure, it's amazing to me how many people don't see the structure at all. Just like, you know, we don't look at each other and see the bones underneath. We see the story. So think about like, what's the structure of my story? How can I make it work for readers? And that will always be under the waterline. So it's kind of like, wait, I'll share a slide again. I just thought of this. It's kind of like this slide here, which is right there. There it is. Yeah. So this is true of storytelling too. So like a lot of work, or a lot of what the novelist does is down here, and you never, that's true of novels and it's true of products as well. So you're only really experiencing this much, but the structure is what really matters. I don't know if that's actually on point for your question though. I'm sorry.
No, that helps totally. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great.
Do you see the chat?
Yeah, I can open up the chat. Yeah, okay. So what inspired me to start writing? I loved reading. And so I loved reading, and I wanted to write books that I wanted to read. And I think C.S. Lewis said that he wrote the books that he would want to have read. So, you know, if I think of a story that I want to read, then I have to write it to have it be created in the world. But yeah, I've wanted to write, and I've been writing since I was like in 7th grade. I guess I'm fortunate in that I can use what I'm passionate about in both the day job and on the side, because a lot of people have to kind of bifurcate themselves and do those things very differently. Like most painters don't get to use their skill set in their day job, like they have to do it on the side, or, you know, classical musicians, unless you're extremely good, you know, you end up playing in the orchestra for fun. So it's, I think that having those fun endeavors, those artistic endeavors, actually gives people a lot of meaning, and also puts people into a flow state where they're more effective in life in general. So it's thinking that life is all about work, I think, is kind of a recipe for being unhappy. And I think finding other things that fill you with joy, you don't have to be the best at it. You can just enjoy doing it. You know, like I know plenty of people I play basketball with who really suck, but we enjoy it. You know, it's I think sometimes at OES there's a lot of intensity about being the best, and you don't have to be. You can just enjoy doing it. Sorry for the speech there.
No, yeah, I think that message is really great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing is that not everybody who is good in the classroom is good in life. So like Ezra Klein, who was just hired as a columnist for the New York Times and has like the #1 news podcast now at the New York Times, and he co-founded Vox News. He got a 2.2 in high school and college. He almost flunked out. And he just felt like, I'm just not good in the classroom. So extremely smart people, or extremely fulfilled people, aren't necessarily the most successful people.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you to both of our parents. We very much appreciate you guys. Thank you for everyone who came out. To the parents who spoke today, Edward and I were wondering if we could use these recordings of the videos and post them to our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
So
we're trying to spread the kind of the like giving awareness of what different jobs are like to people outside of OES, not just only the OES students attending these meetings, but also people that can access them anywhere and learn what different jobs are like.
I can't speak for anyone else. I'm good with that, but Sue, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just wondering if we can scrub the name of my company.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it was only in the very, I think you said it. I don't think I said it.
Okay,
Can you just
I
delete
will.
that part?
Yeah, I will. So unfortunately, Zoom is making us leave the meeting in less than 1 minute because we have to pay now for more than 40 minutes. So it was a pleasure having all of you guys, and thank you so much.
Sure,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ned, that was
Thanks for setting this up.
fascinating.
Yeah, I'll connect with you. I'd love to chat further.
Yes, I think we have a lot in common.
Yeah. Well, thank you for setting this up. I really, you guys are great for organizing this. Thank you.
Thanks.